That is the hardest part of that ring.
For the hardest part of the ring. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the hardest part of the ring.
Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of Hardest Part of the Ring. This is a brand new podcast where four friends get together to celebrate the wonder of professional wrestling. The ultimate soap opera that mixes athletic ability, ridiculous storylines, and fully grown men and women throwing each other at each other. My name is Adam, and I am joined today by three guys I used to call colleagues, but I'm now very happy to call my friends.
Oh,
cheese.
First up, we've got the only man I've ever seen lose his glasses whilst elbow dropping a bin bag in public, Sam Andrews.
hello, mate.
Hello. Next we have who I like to refer to as the Corey Graves of the Hardest Part pod, if only for the similarities in hair and tattoos, Mr. John Mewett.
Hello there.
And finally, a man whose moaning about Baron Corbin will be as regular as a Pete Dunne lip slip, Brett Jones.
Hello.
Hello. How are you feeling? Excited?
Yeah, pumped. Gonna go elbow drop a bin bag.
Yes. That sounded quite genuine as well, Sam. You actually sounded properly pumped. So the plan for this episode, our first ever podcast, is to kind of act as a pilot episode, an introduction to us and what we've got planned for the future. So why should you listen to this podcast? Why are you listening to this podcast? You might be asking yourselves that right now. Well, if you're a fan of wrestling, you're in the right place. We don't claim to be experts, God no, but we do love to sit around discussing the good, the bad, and the downright bizarre aspects of professional wrestling. The four of us watch wrestling a lot, and we regularly meet up to watch pay-per-views together, and afterwards we're always getting carried away when we're talking about them. So we used to joke about the idea of starting a podcast before deciding, let's do it. So here we are. At the moment, the plan is to release a review podcast after every WWE pay-per-view where we sit around and talk about the show. But we're also planning on having individual episodes to review one-off tournaments like the upcoming Mae Young Classic, as well as special episodes with quizzes and Match of the Year discussions and other games and special segments we've got up our sleeves.
Can't wait for the Baron Corbin special.
Yes, hosted by Brett. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what the podcast will be about, but what about the people who will be doing the talking? As a bit of an icebreaker, we thought a good way to introduce ourselves would be to go through some age-old questions. So to kick us off, I thought we could all discuss how everyone got into wrestling, and more specifically, what our earliest wrestling memories are. So, Sam, do you fancy starting us off?
Yeah, of course. So, my earliest wrestling memory was about 10 years old, and I'd wake up on a Saturday morning and go and watch very early episodes of SmackDown on Sky One, and episodes of Livewire with Michael Cole, which was bizarre, and he would be recapping like Raw and SmackDown, except it was all censored, so if anyone got hit with a chair, it would cut to a crowd shot, and I genuinely didn't think anyone hit each other with chairs in wrestling until like 2 years later, but absolutely loved it at this time. It was just the best thing.
I'm quite impressed you had Sky when you were 10, showing off a little bit there.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed now.
Yeah, we didn't get Sky for ages.
Oh, it's great. No, I absolutely loved it, and around about 12 years old, my parents were a little bit like, oh, that's cute, he'll grow out of it.
Yeah.
And, here we are recording a podcast. So.
Yeah, they're going to be so proud.
Screw you, Mum and Dad.
Cool. John?
So my earliest wrestling memory is WrestleMania 3. I actually watched it probably a few years after it came out, because it came out in 1987.
Yeah, I was going to say,
yeah.
yes.
So I must have been at
time ago.
primary school, maybe 7 or 9, I think. But my friend down the road had it on VHS tape, in one of those sort of double VHS tape butterfly things. Remember those?
Yeah.
Big, like, massive books.
Yeah.
And we used to watch it all the time. We used to buy it from him and watch it all the time. Some of the highlights include King Kong Bundy versus Hillbilly Jim, and both of them had 2 midgets on each of their teams.
Oh, that's
Brilliant.
a classic.
Yeah.
Tasteful.
The Ultimate Dad Bod in Harley Race versus Junkyard Dog. Piper versus Adrian Adonis in a very homophobic tinged match.
No.
In 80s wrestling. Can you believe it?
Get out.
Yeah.
Ricky Steamboat versus Macho Man in what I didn't appreciate at the time, but was one of the greatest matches of all time.
That's a match.
Yeah.
Finally, I recognise some of the names.
Honky Tonk versus Jake the Snake. Pretty
Nice.
solid.
Is this Jake the Snake in kind of good time, or Jake the Snake in maybe not so good times?
Oh, that'd
I
be
don't
good
know
time,
if there
surely.
were. I don't know if there's any good times with Jake the Snake though.
Wow.
The post DDP yoga times are good for
Yeah.
Jake the Snake.
Yeah, that's recent though.
Jake the Snake actually had Alice Cooper in his corner for this match.
What?
Yeah.
Incredible.
But the main event, the thing that got me hooked in wrestling, was Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan. And just being like a 7, 8 or 9-year-old kid, just being in utter awe of Andre, just how big he was. Because Hogan is massive in his own right, but he just looks so small compared to Andre the Giant.
It's funny you say that, because like wrestlers today, like a normal like built wrestler is what, 260 pounds, 6 foot something.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan was 330 pounds. That's huge.
That is
That's-
huge.
Yeah.
I think that's quite similar to Killian Dane.
How do you know that? You know that off by heart? Or you?
I know that because I know that because when I was watching Glow quite recently, they had like the ring entrances and they had Hulk Hogan. They said like weighing in at 330 pounds. I was like, fuck off, really?
Well, Andre was 5'12", I think. 512 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
7 feet 4, 7 feet 2.
Can't teach that.
You can't teach that. Yeah, it's what it goes. But weirdly, which has
R.I.P.
been a bit tinged now, like I absolutely loved Hulk Hogan back at that age. Like he just seemed like the ultimate hero against this
Yeah,
the
definitely.
evil
Yeah.
giant. And he was
think
so
we all did.
electrifying as well. Like he could control a crowd better than anyone else.
I'm sorry, I've
Yeah.
just Wikipedia'd him. 302 pounds, but still, that's a lot.
It's a lot of timber.
That's a lot of pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, Brett.
So, unlike Sam, I didn't have Sky back when I was 10 or so, but my earliest memory was early 90s. I guess it was between like 90 and 1992. And I would basically be around my nan's, I don't know, like once a week. And she had Sky, so I'd be sat on the floor with my toast watching whatever WWF Superstars it was back then. And it was all the characters that they had there, because it was just so, so colourful and so over the top. There were people like Tatanka, obviously, like Bret the Hitman Hart, and just so many characters that, I don't know, it just totally appealed to me. And Hulk Hogan, like even back then, like the same thing. It's like it's a bit tainted now, but he was, even though he wasn't even that great, but it was just his charisma or his personality, or like, running each side of the ring with the ear, listening to the crowd, and then, hulking up. It was just, it's just awesome.
The beauty of all of this is it would have been back before any of us were aware of like kayfabe or any of that. It would have been genuine, and that made it feel very pure, which was cool.
Totally. And then, from at that same time, it was getting into trading cards and collecting wrestling trading cards and Hasbro wrestling figures. So there was, plenty to get me hooked at that age.
Nice.
Did anyone do the sticker books? I used to love a wrestling sticker book.
I wasn't aware there were sticker books.
No, I never had a sticker book.
No, I think I just did football ones at that time. I had lots of posters and things. Used to get all the WF magazines, but no sticker books, I don't think.
I had a lot of T-shirts. I had a hell of a lot of wrestling T-shirts.
And you
All
still
of them.
do.
Still do.
Yeah.
Again, parents, you thought I'd grow out of it. Silly.
Never.
There were times though when I definitely wasn't interested. I did grow out of it a little bit during my sort of teen years.
I think that's true for a lot of people. I think it's a bit of a bathtub kind of situation where it's like you start off loving it and then you kind of take a dip, and it's like around the time when you realise it's fake.
Yeah.
You take a dip and you're
Yeah.
kind of like, well, screw this, and then I don't know, you reach a point where you're like, you know what, I don't care that it's fake, and then you start getting back into it.
Yeah, that's exactly
You
what happened.
appreciate it for what it is, yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's what I was realising when I was thinking about my earliest memories, realising that actually, my memories are. I don't have many memories of wrestling. It was mostly getting posters and getting action figures. I didn't really watch that much. It was just I used to enjoy looking at the characters, and it was all about the, in ring gear and more like the gimmicks and things like that than it was about what they were actually doing. And then I went sort of 10, 15 years without watching it at all. So, and it was you guys that got me back,
Dragging you back in.
Yeah.
and now we're doing this.
No escape.
I know.
Married and with a child. Nope, none of that.
No.
Get back in here. Watch the wrestling.
You've got 20 hours of wrestling content to watch this week, Adam. Get on it.
It's true. It's so true. You done, Brett?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, same sort of era that Brett was talking about. I'm going to be a bit more specific and ask you guys to cast your mind back to Saturday, August the 29th, 1992. John Major was Prime Minister. Rhythm is a Dancer by Snap was number 1 in the charts, which I was so pleased about when I the old Wembley Stadium still standing proudly under its twin towers. And within that stadium, on that beautiful sunny day, 80,355 people had come together to witness the first ever and to date only major pay-per-view to take place outside of North America. I'm talking, of course, about SummerSlam 92. I take it you guys remember that?
I've never seen it, but isn't that one of the Bulldog wins the belt, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. I think... Yeah, 1991-92 was the time when I was about to say when I was sort of most into wrestling, but that's actually probably now. But at that time, I used to buy all the magazines and have all the action figures, as I said. My wall was covered in half Arsenal players, half WWF wrestlers. I got SummerSlam 92 on VHS probably in the Christmas 92. And I just used to watch it over and over and over, and all of the wrestlers that featured on the card, which I'll go into shortly, were just exactly the kind of wrestlers that I was into. Massive characters. Again, couldn't tell you a huge amount about their wrestling ability, but they just had great outfits, they had great hair, they had great makeup, they had great promo ability, they had great entrances, they had great music, they had just everything. And I actually kept that VHS for a long time. And even up until I ditched my video player, I still had it. And then when I left uni, I left it in a box in the loft in my student house and couldn't get it back. I was absolutely devastated.
That's beautiful, though, because I'm hoping that at some point some kid has gone to uni who maybe is like, oh, wrestling's fake, it's stupid. And then out of some, I don't know, hipster love or something, they find SummerSlam 92 in the loft of... It's got a movie written all over it.
Yeah, maybe VHS machines will have come back round.
Yeah, like The Ring with SummerSlam.
Yeah, maybe this is how Finn Balor started. This is what set him on his way.
You never know. But yeah, a couple of years ago when we all started talking about wrestling a lot more again, I decided to go on eBay and buy it. So... and I didn't get a DVD or anything, or I didn't get a digital download. I've just got it on VHS. So I still have that sort of
have you actually watched
nostalgia.
Could it just be a blank tape that you've paid?
No, I didn't pay for it. I've got it here. I'm opening it. It looks pretty legit.
Oh, look at the inside where they used to tease the other stuff as well. Oh, that's so good.
Is there a little note in there just saying property of Adam Richardson and you've brought back the exact same copy of it?
Did they rewind it?
Yeah, it's fully rewound. In fact, it doesn't look as if it's been watched.
Oh, is it new old stock? Awesome.
We need to sort out a VHS player for us to all watch it together.
Yeah, we'll do a screening. When this podcast goes absolutely huge worldwide, we'll do a huge screening in Hyde Park or something.
That'll be the pay-per-view that started it all.
Yeah, that's going to happen. So yes, I'm going to fly through the card a little bit because there's lots of great names that I'm sure you guys will enjoy hearing about again. So the pre-show matches, the first one was Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Bushwhackers.
Oh God!
Against the Mountie and the Nasty Boys.
Oh Jesus!
Hacksaw Jim Duggan is the first wrestler I ever saw live.
Oh,
I think
that's
awesome. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and wrestler was a very generous term.
Oh,
Heyo!
So Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Bushwhackers won that one. And then the last match on the pre-show was one of my all-time favourites, Papa Shango. He beat Tito Santana. And again, I know Papa Shango was pretty rubbish, but yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer.
He was mystical.
Yeah, great character.
Yeah. The main card started off with Legion of Doom beating Money Inc., Ted DiBiase and IRS.
As a kid, I absolutely loved Legion of Doom.
Oh, God, yeah. Second main card match was Nails against Virgil, Do you remember Nails? I found him legitimately scary.
Never heard of Nails.
I've never heard of Nails.
He was a convict. He wore like a jumpsuit.
Yeah.
And he'd escaped from prison. Next match was Shawn Michaels versus the model Rick Martel, with a pre-match stipulation saying that neither man could hit the other in the face. They were both vying for the attention of Sensational Sherry at that time, and I think there was some hijinks where Sensational Sherry got smacked in the face, and then they were both tending to her, and then they both got count out, and that's how the match ended. Tag Team Championship match was next, and that was the champs Natural Disasters beating the Beverly Brothers, who I'd completely forgotten about.
Yeah, who are the Beverly Brothers?
Two blonde guys who wore these big purple capes. I couldn't tell you much else. Speaking of purple, Crush was up next. He beat Repo Man, and Crush was one of my favourite things.
Repo Man.
Purple and yellow. And then we had the main event matches. The first one, in my memory, I thought was the actual main event because it was for the heavyweight championship match. But it wasn't. It came up first of 4 main event matches, and it was the Ultimate Warrior against Macho Man Randy Savage.
One of my all-time favourites, Macho Man.
I think these two at that time were my 2 favourites. The match itself had some interference from Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair. Ultimate Warrior did actually win the match by count out, which obviously meant that he didn't get the belt. But you know, they hugged it out at the end, and everything was fine, and it was just
it was a great match.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine anything scarier than Ultimate Warrior wanting to hug you. Probably injure you.
After that, the Undertaker beat Kamala.
Oh, Kamala.
Then we had Tatanka beating the Berserker. And then after that, we had the main event, which was the Intercontinental title match, the British Bulldog against Bret the Hitman Hart.
Wow.
Loads of narrative for this one. Obviously, the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, was married to Bret's sister, Diana, so they're brothers-in-law.
Family.
Both men were pretty much near the peak of their careers. Loads of theatre as they came to the ring. British Bulldog was accompanied by Lennox Lewis, the boxer.
Adam.
Yeah?
Did the British Bulldog have his dreads at this point?
Yeah,
He did.
I think he
Okay,
did.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it was quite a strange situation because Bret, obviously a huge fan favourite, was booed by the majority of the crowd during this match because obviously they were all over the Bulldog, as he was British. And this was in London. But there was an incredible atmosphere, and obviously when he won, it was just got such a huge pop. And this match has actually been voted as the greatest moment in SummerSlam history on WWE.com.
Cool.
I don't know why they say moment and not match.
WWE love their
I
moments.
guess that's
though,
what they
don't
mean. Yeah, they do.
I was surprised it's for the Intercontinental. I've always thought it was for the main belt.
Yeah. But I guess, it made sense for them to have it as the main event, given that it was in London. And a lot of people say it's one of the best, well, arguably one of the greatest WWE matches of all time. So I really do need to watch it again in full.
I mean, Bret the Hitman Hart's got quite a lot of those in his locker.
He has.
Good number.
So that's SummerSlam. Again, I was doing some reading about this, and a lot of people said, definitely one of the best SummerSlams ever. Others say that apart from the 2 main title matches, it was pretty awful. But for me, it's the quintessential pay-per-view of my youth.
But I mean, the beauty of that is that kind of this is almost before we can discern what is good and what isn't good.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why I was saying I didn't really want to go back and watch it all in case I just started seeing all the holes in it, or some of my favourite wrestlers, I realised how terrible they were. But when I think about watching wrestling as a kid, SummerSlam 92 is what I always come back to. So that's that.
Amazing.
Okay, next question is a very big question, almost impossible to answer, but we're gonna give it a go. I'm going to ask, who is your favourite wrestler of all time? And I'm going to start with John.
Okay, so my favourite wrestler of all time is a guy that I pop every time I hear a glass break. It is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh.
Who?
I wish I had a glass. I wish I had a glass to chuck against the wall.
Yeah, there's something about him. I don't know what it is because it's not really a character I normally gravitate to, like this big macho sort of redneck persona. But it's so electrifying and just such a badass.
He genuinely turns it up though to like, if you think hillbilly redneck badass, you think
Yeah.
Stone Cold. Like, it's just.
I mean, the stunner is my favourite finisher of all time.
Really?
I love that bear hug he does, the jumping bear hug into the punches onto the floor. I love that.
the Luthez press.
The Luthez press.
Oh, so good.
Good
And
knowledge.
his feud with McMahon kind of made WWE what it is today, this massive global feud.
Oh.
I mean, yeah.
Legendary.
And it's also what
It defined an era.
why we get so many authority storylines these days as well. He's just a legend. And even like him outside the ring, like I watch Broken Skull Ranch, I listen to his podcast. I can't get enough of this guy.
Yeah, his podcast is great. Unfortunately, it's just been reduced to the second best wrestling podcast out there, but he'll cope with that.
Nice. Confidence. Like it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, obviously a great choice. Brett, I wonder who you may have chosen.
Yeah.
Baron?
But no. So, actually, I think this guy, in all fairness, probably started off being my favourite because of the name. Because we almost shared the exact same name. And so, yeah, I do think straight away I had a bit of an affinity for him for that reason. Because actually, as a kid, I didn't know people with my name ever. So it was like, yes, this like...
Yeah, you're the only Brett I know.
This legend has my name.
You are talking about Bret the Hitman Hart, aren't
Yeah,
you?
obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
And
There are no other wrestling Bretts, are there? Anyway, sorry, carry
there
on,
might
Brett,
be.
while I Google wrestling Bretts.
wrestling Bretts. So, and then like I think it was from that young age watching it, it was like it was the look, it was the glasses, you know, those awful shiny glasses that I just thought were the best thing ever when I was a kid.
So cool.
Yeah, even the leather jackets with the stupid shoulder tassels.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
like it was just great.
Did Smarties do a promotion where they gave away
Cocoa
wraparound glasses like that?
Rice Krispies did
Was it Rice Krispies? Oh, I knew
in
someone
the
did.
cereals I used to get.
Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah, I got them.
I'm sure the UV protection wasn't too hot, but
And so yeah, that's probably all of what started it. And then like just, you know, for me, he's always been, I think, the pinnacle of what I enjoy in wrestling. Like it's that technical ability, but also he does, you know, break it up into a bit more theatrics and brawl sometimes, but it's just that able to, you know, get a schoolboy roll into a pin from any sort of situation. And I think also when you watch back, because I was watching back on some clips on, you know, some of these best matches, and he did something often which he spoke about in his book a lot, but which you don't obviously see now. It's like the juicing, you know, like he always chose those moments in matches to like cut a little thing in his scalp. And for me as a kid, like, you know, suddenly like he was pinning someone or putting them in the sharpshooter with like blood just like, you know, streaming down his face. It's just like beyond, you know, whatever someone could throw at him. He was
an absolute master of his craft. Really
totally.
was.
And then, like, as we were saying earlier, if you think about the number of like feuds or whatnot he had, like whether it was with family or whatnot, there was always a great story there, I think, and a great battle against personalities and then in the ring stars and stuff. So yeah, he's just always, you know, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
yes, great way to end.
It's a great pitch.
Yeah, he's an icon
Yeah.
for sure.
He's cool. He's so cool. Still cool.
Okay, so I'm going to go next, and I'm going to go with another icon who we've already spoken about, but it's going to have to be the Ultimate Warrior for me.
Nice.
Like I said, we're going for favourite wrestler of all time, not the best technical or, you know, the best wrestler. We're going for our favourites. So I know that he wasn't the best, and I know that he was extremely limited, but for me, by far, he is the most iconic. Just his look, his hair, his makeup,
his energy is mad.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that.
Sorry.
That's okay. Yes, his hair, his makeup, the neon tassels around his arms, his just totally jacked physique.
Super
I'm sure,
fucking
you know,
jacked.
His own work.
Ginger jacked.
Yeah, but that whole look for, you know, a 9-year-old boy was just astonishing. I've never seen anyone like that. It's not like my dad. Was like that, or, you don't see people like that very often. He was just a real beast. His entrance music was absolutely electrifying. The amount of energy.
My favourite entrance music.
Yeah. And the way that he'd run down the entrance ramp and everyone would just get so pumped. He was just seriously on a mission every time he went down to the ring. His promos were the same, just full of energy. He always looked like he was just going to pass out. And I, as I said earlier, I didn't really watch a huge amount of wrestling. I didn't watch loads of wrestling matches. I used to play the computer games on the Nintendo, and I used to buy the magazines, and my favourite poster by far was my Ultimate Warrior poster. My favourite wrestling figure was my Ultimate Warrior. And there are better wrestlers out there for sure. But on a personal and nostalgic level, he's definitely my number one. Right, Sam.
So yeah, you guys have mentioned loads of icons, and my favourite wrestler is more of a legend than an icon, a hardcore legend, I would say. Mick Foley.
Good choice.
Great choice.
Any of his guys he is a role model to me. Probably the worst role model you can have. This is why you elbow drop bin bags. I love this guy as a wrestler. Just every feud he was in, he would never win many matches.
No, he never won any matches, it feels like.
Do you know what? He had this amazing talent of no matter who he was in the ring with, he would make that person look good because he would take any bump, any fall, he would do anything. And it just, these kind of matches were the ones that helped get The Rock over in a massive way. It helped get, Triple H into a great position. He's just so good. My favourite match of his, in fact, was quite late into his career. It was in 2010, funnily enough, at WrestleMania 20... I want to say 22. I can't remember. I can't put a number on it. Versus Edge. This match, a hardcore match between those two, is one of the most insane matches I've ever seen. It ends up with Mick Foley getting speared through a burning table in 2010. I mean,
yeah, that's not long ago at all.
Both of them dripping with blood, tacks, barbed wire. Lita was put in a mandible claw by Mr. Socko, wrapped in barbed wire. I mean...
Oh, God.
Oh, Lita.
Yeah, poor Lita.
She was a heel.
Yeah, you're right.
Never in my heart.
It's okay, it's kayfabe, I think. A little kind of bloody. Mick Foley, just incredible wrestler, just willing to do anything, so good with the promos, so good, in every aspect. He was never the most physically impressive wrestler, but it never stopped him from just being great at what he did. And yeah, have a lot of time for that. Big fan.
He's one of those wrestlers that I'd definitely not to go out for a drink with.
Yeah, I don't know, how he'd be with a few drinks down him. You would imagine he'd be the one who would dare you to jump off something and would then do it himself.
You turn around and it'd be gone when you turn back. It was going to be shimming up some scaffolding outside the pub.
Yeah, you'd buy him a pint and then he'd just bite into it.
Just smash it over his head.
Yeah. Right, so next up, we thought it'd be a good idea to talk about our favourite wrestlers at the moment. We were specifically going to talk about just our number one favourite, but as you will find out shortly, we're all watching a lot of wrestling around the world at the moment, not just WWE. So I think we're all going to pick a couple of people. Brett, are you okay to start?
I'll kick off. So my favourite current wrestler is Tetsuya Naito. Am I getting that pronunciation right?
Yep.
Naito.
Confident pronunciation.
I know we say Naito, but when you listen to the fans chanting for him, they're like Naito, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true.
So so I gambled. That dude is just cool. His stable is cool. He is cool.
Can you say the stable name quickly?
Los Ignorables.
Oh, you nailed that one first time.
Yeah, that was good. Those Spanish lessons are paid.
Yeah.
So he wrestles in New Japan, yeah?
Yeah, New Japan, pro wrestling. And like, you know, as is in New Japan, just some brutal matches, taking some amazing bumps with some amazing moves, and it's always a pleasure to watch. And the fact that he like gets these great matches from a character persona that like is meant to not care, and he still keeps that character as well. Like, he doesn't care, yet he's still competitive and great. So that
it really comes across in all his ring work, doesn't it?
Yeah, like the way he's acting in the ring is phenomenal. It was amazing.
Yeah, so I mean that's my favourite, because I'm totally getting suckered into the New Japan world right now.
Yeah. When he used to kick the belt, literally just kick it down to the ring, was one of my favourite things I've ever seen.
He destroyed that belt.
Yeah, he totally did.
Yeah.
I mean, when he won it for the first time, he just threw it up in the air, let it land, and just left it. Just walked out the ring.
I've seen recently Pete Dunne's taken a few tips from Naito and how to treat a championship with regards to Progress and not his WWE one.
Yeah, when British Strong Style won the tag titles in Progress, they didn't have belts. They just had these massive shields, and they were not happy with that. They just used to chuck them on the ground, stamp on them, just leave them out there when they left the ring. So yeah, I like to see that as well. Yeah. And what about WWE?
Okay, so this guy actually is he's my favourite WWE guy, but he's not having his best patch at the moment, but he's still my fave and has been since his TNA days. So obviously I'm talking about AJ Styles.
Yes.
The phenomenal one.
Good shout.
Just clearly, I think, the best in-ring wrestler.
I mean, just quickly, like you say, he's not going through his best patch. Are we talking about literally one match he's had that was a bit poor? And then
I think all this year, really, hasn't he? Hasn't?
Yeah, I think they've
been in.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
He's dropped down the card, hasn't he? A bit, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not point. So much on maybe performance totally, but like the matches he's been put in aren't that inspiring.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
But no, he's a sleeping giant if he is kind of been pushed down the card, because he's good enough to be headlining WrestleMania.
Do you think he could be sort of the main guy in WWE?
You'd hope so.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think he's got enough character, and he's got plenty of humour there as well. I think to pull off the mic work and you know, be the top guy. As for matches, you know, I think that's a definite. The only thing he's got against him in the WWE is his size.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love AJ. I just would worry about his maybe appeal outside of the sort of wrestling world. I think to be like a top guy in WWE, you need to sort of appeal to people outside of wrestling, the sort of casual viewers.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the soccer mums, as we know.
Yeah.
AJ is very much a thinking man's kind of favourite, whereas like you go back to like when we were discussing, you know, who we absolutely loved as 4-year-olds, and it's wrestlers like the Ultimate Warrior, and AJ is probably as far removed from the Ultimate Warrior as he could possibly be.
Yeah,
his phenomenal forearm though is such.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's such a.
There's some of the stuff he does in the ring, I just think would have, you know, whether you're little kids, soccer mums, casual viewers, that you would just be in awe of, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go next, I think, if you're happy.
Yeah.
Brett,
I think I've staked my case.
Okay. Well, yeah, we were talking a little bit about Progress just then, and I, a couple of months ago, as you guys well know, subscribed to Progress, their on-demand service. They're, of course, the British independent wrestling company based in London. Had heard a lot about them. Obviously, knew a couple of the wrestlers who'd performed for them. People like Marty Scurll and some of the other breakout stars that made it into the WWE UK Championship. So I subscribed to that, and then over the course of the last 2 months, I've watched 44 chapters, and I think they're up to chapter 52, which is the equivalent. Yeah, this is their equivalent of their pay-per-views, basically. So they're sort of 2-3 hour long shows, but I've just been binging it. I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it. They've got loads of top names on there, but the standout for me along the whole way has been Mark Haskins. And I didn't actually realise until I started preparing for this, but he's actually got quite a lot of similarities to the Ultimate Warrior in terms of his intensity, in terms of his entrance. He's another one who just storms out, doesn't mess about waving at the crowd or anything, runs straight down the stairs, straight down the ramp, right into the ring. No messing about. He actually started out as quite an awful heel as part of Destroy Indie Wrestling. And he said some awful stuff to the crowd at one point, and I used to think he was a complete dick. But he's slowly turned face, and he's since become a real fan favourite at Progress. And I know he's had loads of success around the world as well, has won a load of other titles. He's had some bad injury problems, but then that means he's out for a while, and then he comes back to a huge pop on Progress. And he's just seriously hard hitting. His work rate is incredible, and he's got one of my favourite arm bars in the business by far. So, yeah, I'm really excited to see what he goes on to do.
I saw him in a small, tiny hall in Worthing in a very small promotion, and I think it was the last show that they put on. But he was in that against the Lion Kid. Is that his name?
Oh, yeah.
But it was a great match. It was like, I didn't know of him before then, saw that, and I was total convert. I was like, this guy is cool and a great wrestler.
Yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah. I think he won, it was the Smash Wrestling is the Australian promotion, and they who was it? I think it was Johnny Gargano. I might end up being totally wrong on this, but they had the title match on Progress, and Haskins won it, and that was a bit of a turning point for him at Progress. I mean, the fans were kind of supporting him. A lot of them had turned and were starting to cheer him, but when he won that title, everybody was right behind him. And then he's just brilliant, and whenever his match comes up, I'm just delighted to see him.
You've sold me on him. After this pod, going to go watch some matches.
I could see. I've got a list of matches that he's appeared in on my phone.
Yeah,
because I'm that much of a fanboy. So I could highlight some for you.
He's got nice. Some move where he dives into like the opponents on the ground, and like he dives onto them into a roll and picks them up into like a slam. So it just looks incredible. So smooth.
And he does the rollover. The armbar that he does is like a rollover move where he grabs their arm and then rolls over and just wrenches it. And it really looks like it must be agony for the other guy.
Slick as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's great. WWE wise, it's kind of a bit of a joke, but I'm very serious.
There's no joke about this, Adam. Don't bury it.
You've got to say it right, though. You've got to say it right.
It's a joke for you guys. I'm not.
You can't just say the name.
Please.
Come on, Adam, do it properly.
I've got my 2-year-old daughter is asleep in a room not far away from where I am, so I can't start screaming. I'm going to go for Braun Strowman. So, to give a bit of background, the four of us do a little fancy WWE draft thing, and we are going to go into much more detail on that and hopefully make that into a podcast game at some point. But last year I picked Strowman after taking a bit of a shine to him when he first came up, when he was part of the Wyatt family in his early days.
You took a lot of shit for that as well.
I did. I did, exactly. And I think that's why, because as soon as you guys gave me loads of shit and you all took the piss, I thought, right, that's it. I'm really going to champion this guy. And
no matter what.
At the start, it was a bit of a joke. And, you know, when they took him away from the Wyatt family and he had those squash matches, it was all... You know, it was people were sort of 50-50 about him, I think. And but I've watched every one of his matches. I'm always bigging him up. I think he's a rare example of WWE actually building somebody perfectly. Sort of slow and steady. You know, he is in the title picture now, and he's been in there for a little while, but it hasn't felt too rushed. He did have his squash matches. Then he went through some of the sort of more mid card people. He beat Sami Zayn. And he's gone up. Yeah, I've said before, but we're all used to seeing NXT call-ups or people coming in from the indies, so it's so rare to get somebody who's just a complete unknown to burst onto the scene like Strowman has, and it's just loads of fun. And let's face it, he's going to win the title at some point, and I hope he's going to be a really dominant champion. And
you can see it though, can't you? Like,
yeah,
he's a superstar in the making. He really is.
He is.
And WWE have booked him so well.
Yeah. He's my guy.
That's a good shout. I think I've probably given you the most shit around him when he was first picked.
We've had a lot of arguments about Braun Strowman.
I've been a very maybe anti-big wrestler person, but watching the highlights package leading up to, oh god, was it Great Balls of Fire, where they just showed all the highlights between him and Roman?
Yeah.
And I've just had to hold my hand up and say, you know what, like, this build-up is incredible. And the match itself, the payoff with the ambulance, it was weird, but my god, it was cool. And it's just,
and he's improved.
From wrestling.
He's improved in the ring, and he's not just a big, slow, big guy. He's not Mark Henry. He's not the Big Show. I think he's got more about him. He hasn't got loads of moves, but there's the potential is there. So
I think that's why WWE call it greatest SummerSlam moment, as you said earlier. I think they don't necessarily need a whole match to be perfect to get something that happens that is so standout that will stay in WWE history. And with wrestlers like Strowman, it's certainly those things that happen that do stand out, like the ring collapsing with Big Show and stuff like that. Like there's lots of those.
I do hate his finisher though. I think a big guy his size should be doing something a bit more exciting than a power slam. Yeah,
I'm not mad on it, but again, it's very early days for him, and I think there's very much room for him to learn a lot of new moves.
Burning Hammer. I want to see him do a Burning Hammer.
I want to see him just do a really technical finisher, like a sharpshooter. I'd be really okay with that.
Okay, so there we go. That's Braun Strowman. Sam, who's your favourite at the moment?
Okay, yeah. So my favourite at the moment is, in New Japan as well. He is Kenny Omega. I'm not really sure where to start with describing how much love I have for this guy.
Yeah, we're big fans.
I feel like Kenny Omega very much epitomises a lot of my generation's kind of wrestling actually in the ring. So a lot of people who are fans of maybe late 90s wrestling and kind of watching a lot of the Attitude Era, always wishing to be able to do it. And then I feel like Kenny Omega is the person who is actually out there doing it and embracing a lot of the kind of geek culture that kind of comes along associated with it, which for me personally as a big video gamer, I don't get that third time. For me as a massive gamer, as well as a huge wrestling fan, I find it so endearing to watch, and his style is just brutal. It looks so impactful. The knee trigger is one of my favourite moves, and just huge fan of him at the moment.
His knee strikes are brutal.
They are absolutely lethal. And just, if you haven't seen it, go watch Okada versus Omega to see just what I think is probably the best match I've seen in a very, very long time.
Yeah. That was the first time I saw him, and I haven't watched much New Japan at all. And I haven't seeked out many of his matches really, but I did watch that one, and it was probably one of the best matches I've ever seen for sure.
Going on to favourite WWE wrestler at the moment, it is Sami Zayn. Who I kind of want to cry a little bit because I feel like he's not maybe being utilised as well as he could be.
Do it, Sam. Cry on the first podcast.
I might cry live.
It'd be good.
It's got to be a sob though. We need to hear it.
I think kind of his match at Extreme Rules 2016, Fatal 4-Way against Kevin Owens, Cesaro and The Miz, was it?
Yes. That was so good.
Yeah. Love that match so much. It told so much story the whole way. The beginning of the match, he runs straight across the ring, Helluva Kick right into Kevin Owens' face.
Perfect.
And Cesaro and Miz are just standing there like, welp, that just happened. And I think that's the thing I really like about Sami Zayn is he knows how to make an impact. his match for the NXT title against Kevin Owens challenging for the NXT title, winning the title by referee stoppage is just, I don't think I've ever seen that before, and just loved it. And then that story as well, going on, his debut on Raw against John Cena, introduced by the Hitman of all people, coming out, that was one of the best pops I've heard in ages. He then, his main roster debut at the Royal Rumble, coming out to Kevin Owens standing in the middle of the ring with his hands on his head. It's just wrestling perfection for me. I love seeing a real good rivalry, and those two have a great one, and I really want to see Sami Zayn win the heavyweight title from Kevin Owens at a WrestleMania in the future.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I hope it does.
Yeah, me too.
I really hope it does.
I love Sammy.
Okay, solid choices, Sam. Right, John, your turn.
Okay, so like Brett and Sam, I've also been sort of watching a lot of New Japan recently. I only started watching New Japan at the beginning of this year with Wrestle Kingdom, and since then I've fallen in love with the main guy in New Japan, Okada.
Yes.
I've been sort of
what's his
watching
first name?
I'm not going. Nope.
Naito.
I've watched all his matches this year. Well, most of them, and I've been catching up on some of his previous matches from the last few years. And I just think it's incredible the standard of match he has all the time against wrestlers that aren't even that good. Like, he had a really good match with Bad Luck Fale. He's pretty limited.
Very.
But I just love everything about him. I think his whole look and gimmick is amazing. Such a good wrestler. Makes everyone he fights look amazing. And I think the last
dropkick.
His dropkicks are absolutely brutal. I've just think the sort of standard of matches he's had over the last 3 years is up there with any of the sort of really great runs from like Bret, Hitman Hart, or Stone Cold. I think he will be one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Can't argue.
And for WWE, I've gone with Alexa Bliss.
Ooh,
Nice.
Yeah,
good shout.
she just makes me laugh all the time. Like, her in like acting is phenomenal. Just her facials and just that sort of double jointed spot she does is amazing.
Yeah.
I completely believe in her character.
Most improved, I'd say.
Yeah, like when she was in NXT, I don't remember her being in NXT particularly. She didn't really stand out.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was almost a bit of a surprise though, wasn't it, when she got called up? It wasn't.
Yeah, totally was. Yeah,
it wasn't a yes. Yeah, this is amazing. It was sort of like, oh, okay, bit underwhelming.
She's totally grabbed the opportunity and just ran with it.
Absolutely.
She's so good. She's so strong.
And the first woman to hold both Raw and SmackDown titles, isn't she? And she deserves it.
As part of it, of her coming up from NXT as a kind of relative, maybe not unknown, but unknown force, so to speak, has made it all the more surprising and impressive of how well she's done on the main roster.
Yeah.
She's easily the strongest person there, I think. The sort of person you expect to have the belt on them, other than Charlotte, I think.
So, I mean, when you say strongest, I'm assuming you don't mean physically strong.
No, just all-round performer, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the best on mic in the whole company, male and female.
Ooh.
That's a big
It's
call.
a big shout. It's a very big shout.
Prove me wrong.
She is good. She is very good. Yeah. But that's a great pick. Yeah, great pick, John.
And progressive.
Yeah, progressive, inclusive.
Progressive
much
is
better.
important. Very progressive. Okay, final question. When we were getting ready for this podcast, just to let you know a couple of our secrets, we did a couple of test episodes. And in one of them, we reviewed Great Balls of Fire. And one of the main takeaways from that was how terrible, basically, Great Balls of Fire was as a name and a concept. So I thought it'd be a fun idea, and we'll see if I was right, to come up with a brand new pay-per-view idea that could slot straight into the WWE calendar. We agreed it could be serious. It could be a proper concept that could go in there and replace Great Balls of Fire. Or it could be something a bit more amusing or stupid. So let's see what we came up with. I'm going to go first. And I was thinking that, even though Tables, Ladders and Chairs is probably one of the favourites, one of my favourite pay-per-views, I thought we should ditch that, get rid of that. Start off with, I was thinking we would replace it with Tables, Ladders and Bears.
Nice.
Which is sort of, quite self-explanatory. Sort of get the idea there. And then I thought, actually, let's mix it up even more. And I've decided to pitch to you guys cables, adders, and flares.
Oh,
Okay.
please tell me that's Flair's as in Rick and Charlotte.
They feature.
family.
Don't worry about it. Okay, so basically, I'm just going to go straight to the main event of this pay-per-view. Picture the ring, full, covered in knotted up cables, printer cables, firewires, USBs, all over the ring. Just a real,
Nice.
you know how
I can see
stressful
it.
that is when all your cables are all knotted up. There are two colours of cable. You've got a red cable and you've got a blue cable, but they're all mixed up, tied together. Entwined with all those cables are a load of adders, the snakes. They're all alive, so that sort of adds to the peril.
Yeah, of course.
You've also got a couple of adders hanging down from the ceiling, clinging onto the title belt in their mouths.
Yep.
How are you attaching those adders? I mean, is this going to be animal friendly?
Probably just nailed.
Just
to the
Nailed
ceiling.
in. Just
Yeah.
Snakes are quite versatile. That should be fine.
Is Jake the Snake there?
I didn't think of that, but of course he would be. Yeah, he's there. He's ringside.
Special guest ref.
Doing some yoga.
Yeah. The adders would be very well trained adders, so these two would be holding the belt in their teeth, and so they've got no time for any hissing or anything. They've got to make sure they're properly clamped down on that. I was about to say former leader of the Liberal Democrats, but current leader of the Liberal Democrats, Vince Cable, is guest referee.
Nice.
Not just because he's called Cable, guys. I know that he's a huge wrestling fan as well.
He's also a massive snake.
Yes, nice. As we mentioned, one of the wrestlers would have Ric Flair in their corner, and the other would have Charlotte in their corner. The crowd are all given flare guns, which they can fire into the ring at any time. They don't have to fire it up in the air; they fire it into the ring just to add more danger.
Nice, like a European football match.
Yeah. Each competitor has to wear flared trousers.
Like Mickey James.
That's pretty obvious, and that would be sort of a theme across the whole pay-per-view, which I'm sure the fans would really get on board with. And I thought the winner of the match, in order to become the winner of the match, you have to be the first wrestler to neatly tidy up all of your colour cables into a box, which is going to be really satisfying for the wrestler and for the crowd. Then,
Do you mean you?
okay, maybe just me. Then they have to charm the adders into a basket, which you can definitely do with adders, right?
Yeah.
Sure that happens all the time.
You see that all the time down in Brighton on the seafront.
Yeah.
Adders charmed into baskets.
And once you've done that, once your cables are tidily put into the box and you've got all your adders nicely resting, sleeping, snoozing in their baskets, then you get whoever you've got in your corner, Charlotte or Rick, to lift you up to reach the title belt. And then you'll be very deserving of the win.
So, quick question.
I don't think we need questions. I think that's pretty clear.
Is there any wrestling?
Yeah. No.
I don't watch wrestling for wrestling. Watch it for the gimmicks.
Could you put the adders
Ridiculous.
into sleeper holds? That could be your way of soothing them.
They've got no neck. Be tricky.
Oh, yeah.
What? No, adders are all neck.
Good point, actually.
That's
Maybe
true.
they're all neck. Either they have no neck or they're all neck.
Okay, so there we go.
I'm so glad I'm not following that.
Cables, adders and flares. Coming soon.
Woo!
Nice.
Excellent.
Sam, what have you got?
Okay, so do you remember the Crash Holly hardcore title rules?
No.
No.
Okay.
Not really.
When Crash Holly won the hardcore title, he enacted a rule. It can be defended any place, any time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I want to bring that back for the WWE World title. So for one night only, so maybe not for 7 days a week. Or it could be. we live in a streaming time. All the wrestlers are locked into the arena.
Title change happens off pay-per-view.
And that it will be a 24-hour stream of whoever has got the world title.
Oh, God.
And he can be pinned, or she can be pinned any place, any time, as long as a ref is present. And whoever is the champion by the end of these 24 hours goes to headline WrestleMania against whoever wins cables, adders, and flares.
I wasn't on board until you brought up cables, adders and flares, and now I'm in.
Yeah.
That's what
cheap.
I want. Just 24-hour fighting.
24.
Okay, like it.
Yeah.
John.
Okay. So mine's quite high concept, and it's kind
Good.
of about wrestling giving something back to the world.
Oh.
So there's several sections to this pay-per-view, but the overall title is Middle East Peace Deal. Bear with me.
Okay.
So the first section is going to be called the Ramadan Royale. And that's going to feature all the Islamic wrestlers fighting against each other to find out who's best. So that'd be Sami Zayn, Mustafa Ali, Sabu, and the Iron Sheik. So they will fight each other in a round-robin tournament, a bit like the G1, to see who will be the greatest from the block, from the Ramadan Royal.
Okay.
And then the second section of the pay-per-view is going to be called Hanukkah Havoc, and that will feature Colt Cabana, Noam Dar, Bill Goldberg, and Billy Kidman. And the winner of that block will go on to fight and finally put an end to all the horrible conflict in the Middle East.
Wow.
Wow.
Hey,
And they'll just do
yeah.
that
Solved it.
alone.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
Incredible.
wrestling
I knew. Yeah.
and
I knew it was
race
worth us doing
issues
this
and
podcast.
stuff is always a good mix, isn't it?
John, where does this pay-per-view take place?
In the neutral venue of Milton Keynes.
Standard. Solid choice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Middle East peace deal. Okay. Brett, can you beat that?
Oh, I don't think so, but mine's got equally good intentions, I think. So my idea, I don't think will appeal to all of you guys, because I know some of you don't perhaps like comedy in the wrestling ring. But so
That's a dig. That's a dig.
So my pay-per-view is Bloody Nose Day. So
Like
you
it.
take Red Nose Day, but you do it in a wrestling event, a wrestling pay-per-view, and every match is a comedy wrestling match. So obviously you need the likes of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks in there to produce some gold in the ring. But you have, you know, up at the top of the ramp, you don't just have the commentators box, you've got a bank of phones, so you get, you know,
Amazing.
Jerry the King Lawler over there, get, you know, Vince and whoever else on the phones calling people up, trying to raise money. The big, you know, Titantron at the top's got the number racking up, and they're, you know, trying to make money for good causes.
Nice.
It's sort of serious,
Would
it's
it-
sort of silly.
That is nice.
Would it cut to like impoverished children quite a lot? Because that would kill my vibe a little bit.
No, I think we just show comedy wrestling.
Okay,
That's
cool.
actually probably, I mean, apart from Middle East peace deal, which I'd be surprised if doesn't happen imminently. That's probably the most, achievable.
How has it not happened already? That's what I want to know.
I know. I'm impressed, Brett. So much heart.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. 4 incredible new pay-per-views, which could well be seen on WWE soon. But for now, I think that brings us to the end of the first ever episode of Hardest Part of the Ring. We did it.
Yay!
Yay! Pod forever.
If all else
You
fails, we'll always
deserve
have
it.
this one single episode that we can listen to, sobbing.
Nice.
Well, also the free test episode.
Yeah.
And then the test records.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Hey, don't give away all the practice.
Sorry.
Thank you for listening. If you have listened this far, thank you. Hopefully we've done enough to encourage you to come back and listen again next time. Our next episode will be a review of SummerSlam, which is coming up on Sunday the 20th of August. We're all getting together at Brett's house on the Monday to watch that. And at the moment we're planning to record a podcast immediately afterwards. So you can look out for that in the few days after SummerSlam. In the meantime, we would really appreciate it, of course, if you could spread the word about this podcast. Tell your friends, tell your family. I'm sure your mum would really be interested, or maybe your gran or your grandpa. Get them listening, get them sharing, subscribing. I know is very good because I listen to a lot of other podcasts. Rating, reviewing, and just spreading the word. Yeah, we'd like as many people to hear this as possible. To keep up to date with us, please do follow us. We've got social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as Hardest Part Pod, at Hardest Part Pod. We do have a website as well, which is www.hardestpartofthering.com. It's a holding page at the moment, but there will be some more info and content up there at some point. So that's it, I think, guys, unless you've got any final thoughts.
No, I think you covered it, bud.
Done.
Nothing from me.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's it. Goodbye then from Sam.
See you later.
Goodbye from John.
Bye.
And goodbye from Brett.
Adios.
And goodbye from me. That was the hardest part of the ring.
That is the hardest part of that ring.